what's the very latest?
Well, as you've been saying there, Julie, a statement produced after that meeting by the presidency indicates that they reached the bones of a deal to form a coalition government. The subtext, given that there is very little detail, is that there's still an awful lot in the way of detail to be hammered out between these two sides. But they really had to come up with something to take on Monday to a meeting of Eurozone finance ministers in Brussels to give them some sense of confidence that Greece was able to play its part in the game. And so they have. The statement reads, it was agreed that a new government will be formed with the objective of driving the country to elections after the implementation of the decision by the European Council on October the 26th. That, of course, the new debt deal agreed for Greece, that this government will be tasked with passing as quickly as possible through Parliament. Now, among the outstanding details that will have to be discussed in the days ahead, they'll meet again on Monday, of course, is the precise implementation of that deal, the workings of that deal, not just the money on the table, but how it will be implemented, what sort of austerity measures will have to be brought into play. And Mr. Samaras, the opposition leader, has made some issue in the past of the way government policy has dealt with these things, the way that reforms and cuts have been implemented. That's something they'll be haggling over. They'll also be haggling over the precise composition of this coalition government, with such a sensitive balance between the two big political parties here leading up to a general election. They'll want to know that ministries are equally weighted and carefully handed out. That's something they'll have to discuss. There's also, of course, the pressing question of Papandreou's resignation. He won't be the leader of the new government. The question remains, when will he resign? And that indeed may come on Monday, because they say they'll be talking about the new Prime Minister in their meeting on Monday.
And of course, as you say, Jonah, that's one of the big major details to be hammered out, is who's actually going to lead this new interim government. Who are the runners and riders for that interesting job?
Well, there are a few names in the frame. The thing that's got to be considered here is that whoever the person is that's picked to run the coalition government, it's got to be somebody who doesn't carry too much support on one side or the other side between these two political parties. They don't want somebody who's going to be a threat to one or other side in the run-up to a general election next year. Probably the most likely candidate, certainly the name that is featuring most prominently among all the analysts and political watchers here in Greece, is Lucas Papademos, a 64-year-old technocrat, not politician, a banker, an economist, a man who has been a governor of the Bank of England. He was deputy president of the European Central Bank for a number of years. He was involved in leading this country in the transition from the drachma to the euro at the turn of the decade. He's got all the right qualifications to look through this debt deal and put it in place and get it through Parliament, but he doesn't represent a threat to either side. He's the man most likely, I think, to be announced on Monday as the new Prime Minister.
Jonah Hull, live from Athens. Thank you.